All right, guys, so welcome back. Thank you for hanging out, spending a few moments here with me. If you're new, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Now, I developed two lists. Number one is the 5 most hated modifications that I've done to my charger. And by hated, I mean when I would load up a video, there was quite a few people that felt passionate enough to absolutely get into the dog fights in the comments section, and really, the excuses were everything from it's too expensive, it doesn't do anything, there's better options. So, I'm going to lightly go over each of these modifications, and then 5 things that were just universally accepted. Everybody loved them, and I'll save those for after the 5 hated. Now, the number one thing is Shorty Headers. A handful of people were saying that long tube or bust, and at the time I was really just looking to be a little bit quicker than a regular RT, and I thought that the direct bolt-on Shorty header was going to get me there, and it did. But the problem is, and a lot of people pointed this out, the goalpost keeps moving. The long tubes are really the better option, knowing that you're going to continue building power. That being said, I still have Shorty Headers on my twin-turbo stroker, and, can't complain right there. The number 2 thing is my massive decal wrap of the B. I'll tell you, I put that on, and there was a lot of people that absolutely loved it, and there was a handful of people that were like, you just made that thing look absolutely terrible. So a huge mixed bags of results, and I know that every time that you do any kind of visual upgrade to your car, there's a ton of people that will really like it, and there's a ton of people that will absolutely hate it. The next thing is the Widebody Kit. I'll tell you, I would say 95% of people, maybe 90% of people really love the Widebody Kit. A lot of people disagreed with the method in which I installed it, which is understandable. Make sure if you're going wide body to adjust your suspension, get an upgraded suspension. Okay, it's going to save you a lot of headache, or cut your fender flares. That's all I'm going to say about that. But the wide body was a real issue for a lot of people because it's really only offered in a catback and a Hellcat, and for an RT or even a V6, to have this wide body, it's basically like saying it's up badged. Okay, and a lot of people were not very pleased with that upgrade. The next thing is something that I was really shocked about when I actually announced that I was doing a stroker kit on a 5.7. I figured that this was something that is very rarely done. And a lot of guys, in scat packs and Hellcats end up doing stroker kits, whether it's a 426, a 440, or a 430. It seemed like a very common Mopar Hemi thing to do. And when I went from a 5.7 and did the stroker to a 397, a lot of people were like, you're just not RT Life anymore. Change the name of your channel. You're not a 5.7 anymore. They said that I abandoned them. It was really interesting reading some of the backlash. The stroker kit kind of took me by surprise. Now, the number one thing that had the most negative feedback, and it's something that really kind of launched this channel. Holy shit. What? My car sounds like a goddamn animal. I was loading up videos and kind of struggling to get views. A few people told me to buy a pedal commander, and I went ahead and gave it a try. And that video just went nuts. It just got so many views when I actually installed it and test drove the RT. And I still stand by the pedal commander as far as it does make a huge impact, and it does drastically change the throttle response. Could it be a little bit cheaper? Absolutely. And I still, support those that want to remain mildly stock and go out and buy a throttle response device. I think it's a really quick, simple way of making your car feel a lot more aggressive. The 5 things that were universally loved, and there was really little to no negative feedback. That was camming my 5.7. A lot of people just absolutely love that path. They figured, it's a realistic option, a more cost-effective way of getting power. Now, there was a handful of people that didn't like the camshaft that I actually selected, but that was very minimal. So a lot of people loved the cam upgrade. Number 2 is the long tube headers. Everybody loved that I went from shorties to long tubes, and that I did the dyno comparing the short to the long. I did pick up quite a bit of horsepower going from shorty to long tube, and most of it was obviously top end. For the most part, it's worth it going long tubes. The next thing is my MagnaFlow X-Mod catback exhaust. When I loaded up that video, everybody was like, holy crap, that thing sounds vicious. And it really did sound amazing. I was even pleasantly surprised. MagnaFlow really put together a nice exhaust system with that gave you some flexibility with how loud and how quiet you really wanted it. They gave you extra mufflers in there, a J-pipe to quiet it down, no drone or anything like that. So MagnaFlow did a great job with that, and I was really, really happy with that after the installation. Another thing is the twin turbo system. I figured that there would be more pushback. I thought, more people would want to see me go down the supercharger route. And, I went down the twin turbo because I really couldn't find a supercharger company that was willing to really either give me a discount or a sponsorship or whatnot. So I said, you know what, if I'm going to pay full price, I'm going to go with a twin turbo system, and I'm going to go with a custom one. And that's exactly what I did. I went with a twin turbo custom setup, and it's super efficient. I run low boost and I make a lot of power. And I figured that there was less people doing it. And so, it seemed like a really good idea. Also, too, I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of people that had superchargers were always complaining about belt slip when they would lose a race. And I don't know if that was an excuse or if there was actually belt slipping happening with their supercharger. And I figured, you know what, I don't really want to deal with that. So twin turbo seemed like a really good idea. And, I just went with it. Another upgrade, and the last upgrade that I'm going to talk about, is something that I installed, and I kind of figured that there would be some pushback on it, but really nobody hated on it. Nobody had any negative stuff to say about it, and that was my killer B hood. It's something that is just so exaggerated, so crazy looking. It's the combination of like a Hellcat hood meets a Viper hood, and that big beefy hood scoop and everything. It's just so menacing looking. I figured that some people would actually criticize it, but for the most part, nobody really criticized that hood. And those are the lists that I have. And I'll tell you, I had so much fun doing all of these upgrades and seeing the feedback. And a lot of people believe that YouTubers hate seeing feedback, and that's not the case. Most YouTubers actually could care less about negative feedback. What they care about is, are people clicking on the videos, and is it getting the views? Either way, guys, that's my list. And there's other things that I left out, like when I put my 345 badges on the side, a lot of people didn't like that, I'll tell you. And my wicker bill, a lot of people were screaming that it was rice. And just a lot of other modifications that I've done really had some pushback, but for the most part, those were the major 5, and then the major 5 that, everybody loved. So, all right, guys, I'll check you on the next upload.